Okay, so the purpose of this session is to find out, the first step is to find out the real demand of the question. And then we're going to see today how question would have been different if it would have been started with a word analyze, evaluate. Now, as you can see, the question is starting with a word examine. And that is where I have seen the students are normally having a confusion. They ultimately they think like altogether these 3-4 words, which are the key words and decisive words, they think that the answer will going to be same for all the time. But today I'll make my another attempt to give you the further clarity how word examine will land you all to the different parameter of this answer. But before that, let us everybody involved to this question. This question has a two part. First is examine the phenomena of climate-induced migration in Eastern India. How does it reflect the emergence of climate change as a slow onset disaster? And second part of the question is critically analyze its socio-economic and ecological implications. Now, the first task you should all involve is to find out the key demand of the question. So make attempt one by one and tell me what is in a core demand, because there are many words which highlights and which seems very prominent also, but there is a one-two idea which is there in the question which you need to negotiate in detail in your answer. So what is that core word is? Tell me, what do you think, like what is a key word of this question? We'll start with the Rohit. Rohit will make a wild attempt first. Guess what? Climate. Okay, Rohit says climate-induced migration. So it is in a Prayag's point, no? Okay, give me the exact point, right? Climate change in Eastern India. So Kasvi says the climate change in Eastern India, migration in emergency time and its challenges. No, Kasvi, what you did, you clubbed both question together. Give me the core idea of the first part of this question. Make it as simple as this, so that understand clarity will come within all.
Sir, we have to examine the phenomena. The keyword is phenomena. Phenomena means how means what are the factors that are leading to climate-induced migration in Eastern India?
Okay. Those migration from the Eastern India. Okay, so and that is so now Kasbi made some amendment, and the Kasbi said the migration from the Eastern India and the climate phenomena. The climate phenomena. Okay. Raj Thakur, you try now.
Sir, climate-induced migration and how it is a slow onset disaster for the future.
So can you club it into a one-two word?
One-two word, as in, sir, a relationship between this difference between past and present migration patterns due to this climate change, and which is making this onset disaster for the foreseeable futures.
You have strike the bullseye actually. Exactly. So question is not on a climate-induced migration, but it is deeper than that. We need to examine the climate-induced migration pattern. Right? This pattern is actually phenomena. So question says, examine the phenomena of climate-induced migration. Now, if the phenomena is about climate-induced migration, it means we need to see what is the trend analysis in the migration in Eastern India. And then we need to see the deviation, like how migration were different before climate change and after climate change. And if the differences are coming, then what are the reason behind this? and how far it reflects that there is an emergence of climate change as a slow onset disaster. Is this idea clear? If it is not, need not to worry. We'll do an exercise again. This is the first day for the Raj Thakur, and like the first ball, like he played like a slog over out of the boundary. So, chalo. We'll take up now what we need to do. See, the question is, let me first do what? Let me give you some overview about this, and then we're going to take up the question again. And when we'll do an exercise, we'll understand exactly this is what the demand of question is. Now the question says, examine. No? Question start with a word examine. Question start with a word examine. So when we need to examine, we need to search some trends first. Trends. No? And then on these trends, we need to see the deviation. And then we have to find out what are the causes. Now, what is examine? When we go to the doctor, doctor has a certain parameters. Doctor knows what is in a heartbeat rate, what is in a blood count, what is in the color of the eye and all. And looking this, doctor tends to see the deviation in the patients, those factors. And then he does what? He find out the causes, and then he gives in a medicine, prescribe and prescribe something. So we have a trend here. Now, exactly what we need to do within a question. We need to search some trend first, and then we need to see how it is different. And after looking this, we need to find out, rather than the causes, we need to give approval if this is in a slow onset of climate change or not. Slow onset of climate change or not. Like, we need to give a reflection of this in our answer. Now, how to start? First, we need to search the pattern of a migration. So first we'll see the pattern, migration pattern. So you might have studied, there are two patterns we have. We have a push factor, and then we have the pull factor. Now, push factor and pull factor this is related to the source region, that is related to the destination region. It is negative region, that is positive region. It is related with some disaster, conflicts, some issue with the source of earning and all. We have a less income, poverty. Due to this, we have the push factor comes into play. And then, other than this, we need to search more of such trends. Such trend in the sense that other than this, we have a dominating factor. What factor is dominating these days? Dominating. It is a rural-urban migration. Other than these two, we have the rural-urban migration is a dominating factor. Now, other than this, we have a cyclic pattern, not cyclic actually. We have a seasonal migration. It happened not only in urban centers, in a remote area, we have a seasonal pattern. Acha, seasonal migration. Now, when we are looking the migration, we should not see the rural migration only. There is a migration of urban centers or two. In these Eastern India, we have many cities, and their urban centers related migration is there. So we need to see the labor market led, what type of people they migrate more, formal or informal sector wise, right? Then we need to see what is the nature of a gender migration. Now we all need to see this before the arrival of disaster or climate change induced migration. Even we have before climate change in 70s, in 60s, we have an interstate migration, right? Interstate migration. So there are different features of migration. Now, one by one, we need to analyze. Now, how to analyze? If we have a climate change, the climate change tends to be in the form of frequent flood, drought, right? Submergence of coastal islands. So, what is climate change related induced impact? We have the flood, and when the flood comes, the cycle becomes very fast. We have a drought. Drought comes, the severity of the drought increases. Then we have a submerge. Submerging is fast, right? So these are the climate change. Now, this is a trend, right? We need to find out deviation now because of the climate change, like how the things are going to be different now. Now tell me which factors will dominate more now, push factor or pull factor in a climate induced scenario? Which factors would be having a more role to play? Pull factor or push factor?
Push factor.
Push factor.
Push factor. Yes, push factor. Now, why push factor? अब यहीं पे ना, this is where your analysis will going to define what is examined. Push factor will dominate. Now, earlier it is poverty-driven people are migrating. Now, who will migrate? Even the farmers, those livelihood is at risk, because of loss of a livelihood. Earlier, because the people were poor, that is why they are migrating to beg to the bigger city. In the village areas, they are not finding an appropriate return. So, because of the livelihood collapse, now the people, whatever people will migrate, poor people or marginalized people?
Poor people.
देखो poor क्या होता है? Those who are incapable, ना, जिसको बोलते हैं poverty. Poor, below poverty line, and the people just above this are known as marginalized. So, which type of people will migrate more? Marginalized. We have a marginalized people will migrate more. Now, how the things and scenario will change? We have a large number of migration or less number of migration. Now, we have a large number, right? We have a large number. So, poor will migrate so that a little capable people will also going to migrate. Okay, and this is what type of migration? One-time migration or cyclic migration?
Cyclic, sir.
Cyclic migration.
So if the climate change is there, it is a reversible phenomena or irreversible phenomena?
Irreversible phenomena.
Irreversible. So how the seasonal migration going to be? Earlier, seasonal migration was a cyclic. Now, how climate-induced migration would going to be different? It will going to make linear or cyclic again? Strong cyclic or more linear? Prayag, what is the point, Prayag?
Strong cyclic, sir. Strong cyclic.
Like a climate change will call them back also. Cyclic means going to one point and returning back to their destination, like a source region, source and destination. If we have a drought is persistent and permanent, do you think the people will go back again if they have no scope for livelihood?
If permanent, it will not, sir.
So it will going to break cyclic pattern?
Yes, sir.
So this is what is examination. Like in a trend, suppose we have a cyclic. So here we have a strong cyclic and we have a broken cycle, weak and broken. So climate change will going to break cycles. That is known as examine. And you have to tell also why this cycle will going to break, because onset climate change There's a large impact, slow. It comes late, it comes slow, it goes slow. That is how you have to confirm also. Got my point? In a climate disaster class, I have taught you all that there was a two type of disaster. We have a sudden and creeping. Which one is a dangerous? Creeping means slow.
Creeping, sir.
Why creeping is dangerous?
Sir,
Gradually.
because
Sir,
we
it is
don't see it
slowly
coming.
different.
One is very like a fair point. We can't see they are coming. And why it is dangerous?
It's
Because
irreversible.
The long-term impact.
सर
it lives
सर
with
सडन
us.
इंक्रीज देखा जाएगा.
It is irreversible, okay, but as it comes to us, it remains with us for a long time. It goes late also. It comes slow, it goes late also. Sudden is okay, it comes fast, go fast. But like the COVID we had, the COVID came very slow. It took around a year to come from China to India, but it stayed in India for 2-3 years, and who knows, it is still with us. Sometime in a different phase it comes and get erupted. So that is how it is invisible and creeping. So that is where we need to tell. Yes, it is slightly slowly weakening the cycle and breaking the cycle. That is how we need to tell. Like, okay, now how urban-rural migration going to be different now? What is your logic? Discuss. Don't listen my this. प्रवचन मत सुनो मेरा, आप लोग बताओ. What would be the nature? Earlier the migration were in search of job. Now this time the migration is in the search of
Livelihood.
livelihood. Exactly. So earlier the people will become well off. Now the people settlement, yes. So this migration will lead to creation of what in the urban centers more?
Stability.
Which type of settlement will grow more in urban centers? Stress on the urban, okay. But the slums will grow more fast. Slums, unorganized, yes, unorganized slums. And the normally slums are located and settled where? In a safe area or vulnerable areas, floodplain areas.
Vulnerable areas.
Vulnerable. So you have to say like it will lead to the urban vulnerable areas to be more urban vulnerable areas to be more typical and different. That way you have to make at this point like how things are. So you have to give at this point urban growth would be more on the risky side. Slowly and gradually you have to put this point all the time. The creeping disaster will lead to urban growth towards the vulnerable sectors, right? So that UPSC examiner will sense that yes, you have this anticipation, and not only that, you have the concern also. In the manner you can make in a formulation of the UPSC, like a policy. Your answer must reflect these all things. Okay. So now whatever the gender, like a pattern will shift, gender. Earlier, sir, employment पे effect होगा. हाँ, अच्छा, that will see Kasvi, na? What are the economic implications we're going to see? Right now we are looking at patterns. Earlier, before disaster, we have only male member used to migrate. Male member, they go and search the avenues, and then when they looking the avenues, finding the suitable time, and then they're calling in a family. Now, what type of migration trend will come? Like who will migrate now more? The individual will migrate or entire family will migrate?
The entire family.
Entire family.
Family. So see, we have the family migration. So that is how the male migration is a normal trend. We have a family migration. Because it is in a it is not for the livelihood search. It is for the it is not for the betterment opportunities. It is to survival and livelihood. That is why they all will going to migrate. So this is in a compulsion migration. It is not in a voluntary migration. It is in a compulsion. You have to tell this way, everything in this way. Which type of people will migrate more? The voluntary sector, involuntary, informal and formal. Informal, like yes, we have the informal. है ना? अच्छा, try and tell me which community has a rapid migration, where you can see the community will going to have a rapid. If I'm, अब देखो evaluate क्या होता है? Evaluate means you have to give a ranking. I'm giving you the 3-4 categories of the community. You have to tell me, you have to give the rank. Which community you can notice there would be a fast climate induced migration. So tribal community, agrarian economic communities, middle class community, है ना? And like specialist, high tech family members. High tech means those are technocrats, family with a technocrats member. So give me the ranking, like who will migrate, where the massive migration you can see in which community, ranking wise, rapid, then less rapid, the least rapid. Got my point?
सर ऑप्शन से एक बार बताइए.
क्वेश्चन ये है कि we have a climate induced migration will start, तो समाज में, the society, in society we will categorize society into different communities. In which community you can see the migration is more fast, where migration is second fast, where migration is the least fast. That's it. So I have given 4 communities only. So let us see first.
Sir, first one is agrarian, then second one is tribal, third one is middle class, fourth one is specialist.
The agrarian, middle class, tribal, and technocrats.
Okay. Okay, Kasmi, who will going to have the most migration? First, give me the first rank. And give me the
middle
logic
class.
also.
Middle, sir.
Middle class, sir.
Middle class will
Agrarian,
migrate
sir.
first.
But agrarian climate is more relative for agrarian. No,
Sir, agrarian, sir.
Climate change will impact first whom? Whose
Sir,
livelihood will going to be damaged first? People
Agrarian.
relying on a forest area or people relying on a fertile land?
Fertile land.
So the climate change will have like a imperative impact, immediate impact. Where first? In a forest or in an agricultural land?
In agricultural land.
agriculture.
Forest. If we have a drought, the impression can be reflected where? In the forest fire. Even then, if we have a drought, we have a possibility of an agriculture because perennial rivers can supply water. If we have a flood, then also the condition is not adverse. Suitability is there because they will going to add fertility to the soil. So yes, agriculture will suffer, but not at the rate of the forest. Tribal communities, you can see they're going to be affected most. Yes, tribal.
Forest will depreciate thoda slow, na sir, compared to agricultural land.
No, if we have a drought, suppose. Drought. The forest is an exact expression of the climate. Exact expression. If we have an
ड्रॉट होगा सर तो फिर सबसे पहले तो जो फर्टाइल लैंड है उस पर ज्यादा इफेक्ट होगा ना कंपैरेटिवली टू फॉरेस्ट क्योंकि उसमें टाइम लगेगा लॉन्ग टर्म.
All right. That is my opinion, my point of view. I see forest has a more impact, large impact than the agricultural land. But don't consider me as a final. My idea is a final idea. Justify. It hardly matters. Who's my
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, the forest tribal people will change from one forest to another forest, but they will not go to the urban center, na sir.
In fact, this is
then how is their migration highest, sir? Agrarian will be highest because they know that they can have livelihood opportunities in the city, so they will go there. They don't have the information that there are other opportunity rather than food picking and depending on the fruits and all the
Actually,
forest
actually,
products.
this is what the irony is. The tribals have started migrating towards an urban centers. You can see many tribal families are there in the red traffic lights. You might have noticed that most of these traffic lights, though the government had did one in Delhi government due to G20 summit and a Commonwealth event, they pushed these all tribal community out of Delhi. You can find their large numbers are there in Gurgaon and outskirts cities. If you belongs to the Sonipat or Noida, you can notice these tribal communities are living in these roadside areas. So they have started migrating already. So and this migration would be voluntary migration or compel migration.
Compel migration.
Compel migration. Based on the various studies and reports, high ranking of the communities by their rapid migration rate. अब देखो ये नहीं करना है ना. Okay, use internet and all for building your foundation. अच्छा अच्छा देखो इसने बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट निकाला है. Avinash has given a report migration rate. Tribal communities experience the rapid migration due to factors like land alienation, displacement, economic pressures, and lack of opportunity. Many tribal migrations to urban areas are in search of better livelihood. Agrarian community, particularly small minor farmers, also experience a significant migration. So he has given the ranking, searching some report, and then we have middle class and all. Good, good. So, like, it hardly matters if you have the ranks are altered for you. If you have a genuine justification, and the UPSC is not interested on a true ranking. They want to see whether you can think or not. Thinking matters most. Now, have you gotten a rough idea about how the examination? Have you gotten a rough idea how the examination is different than the analysis? In examination, we need to have a certain trend first. And then on the basis of that, we need to see the deviation and justify the deviation. Okay, coming to the next part of the question. The question says, critically analyze the socio-economic and ecological implications. Now, critically analyze means don't see the negative side only. Give the positive also. So it's okay that in economic wise, the more people will come. What is the benefit when we have a large number of migration come to the city areas? Any positive side do you see? Sudha? If we have a large migrants are coming to the city, acha, will you feel happy or you become upset? Everybody give reaction. If you are the chief minister of a city or of the, let us suppose Delhi, you find a rapid migration. Sudha will
इससे इकोनॉमिक सपोर्ट काफी मिलता है.
कैसे?
इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ होती है सर, मैन पावर ज्यादा मिल जाती है ना. जब माइग्रेशन ज्यादा होने लग जाता है तो फिर वो जॉब भी तलाशेंगे, उसकी वजह से फिर मैन पावर ज्यादा मिलेगी, कंपनीज फिर ग्रो होंगी इससे.
Okay. So the more manpower, labor cost will cut, labor become cheaper, construction will become cheaper. Construction will become cheaper, houses will become cheaper, the cost of living will become. So that way you have to examine.
कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी देखने के लिए मिलती है.
Okay, so that is how you have to analyze. Economic wise, yes, there will be a more load, conflict will come, like a low grade people will be more in numbers.
सर मैनेजमेंट करने में भी दिक्कत आ सकती है.
That is why you have to tell both sides, critical examination. What are the social implication? Society wise, we have a cultural conflict.
कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी देखने के लिए मिलती है सर. कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी बहुत देखने के लिए मिलती है दिल्ली में.
बहुत तरह से देखने को मिलती है. You might have seen how the language of people in Delhi.
Yes, sir.
And just believe that one Punjabi is living with a Bengali, how their language will going to be conflicting with each other. Now, people to people connectivity. Okay. So, conflict, okay. But what type of people will come? Individual or family? So, the family migration, you have to go like this way. You have to go like this way. You have to tell this way that the family will going to hold. But yes, nuclear family will going to disintegrate. Sorry, the joint family will disintegrate to nuclear, but the family will going to be protected. Policy formulation, streamline the governance. Okay. So this way you have to see ecological implication. Yes, it will going to cause more because floodplains, encroachment areas will going to be more. Like a migrant people will live more on a vulnerable areas, you know, making their settlement risky.
Hello, sir. If the families will move, then they will increase the number of dependent population, means non-working class population in the city, and that will impact.
No, even the women will going to participate as in a labor.
Women, but elderlies and childrens in the family, sir. They.
But mostly the elderlies will not migrate. There are hard chance, less chance that the migrants would be from the elderly people also. So we have the young family member will migrate first.
Okay.
So that way we need to tell. So चलो अब हम लोग we're going to make one more last attempt. What will be the nature of the introduction? How to start introduction? So I'm making a plan actually. Which introduction is the best introduction? Acha, can anybody have any idea or any choice? Giving a definition to the climate-induced phenomena of Eastern India will going to make sense? Or causes of climate change? Anybody like to start with the causes of climate change in India, Eastern India?
No, sir. Just like means we have to give some reasons about the climate-induced migration in Eastern India and how it is becoming a what we can say, like a slow disaster, a creeping disaster in the future that we have to introduce the introduction.
Okay. Okay.
In causes, sir, we have to showcase the various phenomena like severe coastal erosion in the eastern area. In the eastern side, there is high sediment.
Okay. Anybody with a different idea?
सर इसे अगर स्टार्ट करना हो तो हम इसे क्लाइमेट इंड्यूस माइग्रेशन जो ईस्टर्न इंडिया में हो रहा है उससे स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. देन इसमें स्लो वन सेट डिजास्टर्स के बारे में बता सकते हैं, इंडियन वर्नेबिलिटी, ईस्टर्न इंडियन वर्नेबिलिटी के बारे में बता सकते हैं और सोशल इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशंस इसके अंदर डिस्कस कर सकते हैं इंट्रोडक्शन में.
नहीं, इंट्रोडक्शन में तो हाउ कम वी कैन डिस्कस सो मच थिंग्स, बट यस, ओके. Mention, Sudeep says, mention the trend of the migration with the report. Exactly. You have to start with giving the salient feature of normal migration pattern. Then you will going to set in a ground. You see how the climate will going to distort, disturb, or facilitate. Got my point? Because this question is examine the phenomena. Hai So you have to set in a parameter first. The normal migration led by push and pull factor, which is further seen their character in terms of the cyclic pattern. Rural-urban migration, gender-biased migration. So you have to give these statements in the beginning. What are the salient features of the normal condition migration? And then you have to tell slow onset disaster in terms of drought, soil salinization, soil erosion, this way, like you have to give the list of slow onset disaster and their characteristics. You have to give the sense that they are going to cause a one time permanent है ना disturb and distortion ऐसे करके, like they're going to disturb the pattern, distort the pattern है ना, collapse the pattern. Will they going to facilitate the pattern onset disaster? Will they going to facilitate, make cyclic more strong cycle? What would be the like impact we have on all slow onset?
No, sir.
Ah.
No, sir. It will change it to more linear and one-time migration only.
So they will going to disrupt or they will going to facilitate?
Disrupt, sir.
Disrupt. So that is what we need to highlight in the beginning. They're going to disrupt, disturb, collapse the existing pattern for good. For good means for long term. And you can see in the sense of now push factor, and then analyze how push factor going to be having a different pattern this way. So got the sense of the question? Can you write, all of you? Can you attempt to writing this question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So can we consider this is all enough for input of this question?
Yes, sir.
So now you have to take a use of toffee notes which we have shared, use the relevant data, facts, example report, and then make a blueprint and then try writing answer and give these answer. And see, every day we need to give too many efforts making toffee notes, taking your this Zoom session is also not time taking, effort taking. So do try to yes, we can, Sudeep, Kashvi. If you can mention some report and all, that will also going to validate. So my point is, our effort needed to be recognized. You have to write, no? If you are not writing, we'll consider at least 60-70% of the fee you have given, we're going to deduct. Earlier, we had a plan that if the student's copy will be evaluated, then we consider fee deducted. But like evaluators are worried, they are keep on waiting and waiting. They said, sir, we get ready ourselves with an all data and relevant point, and we find no answers that day. Answers come after 2-3 days, and we start losing information. So we do not have a very like authentic evaluation. So try giving every day and follow and be sincere on this part. So